All right, let's get started. Good evening and thanks for joining us today. In case you are joining us for the first time, this is Cybersecurity Mentoring Group, a platform where we share, we learn, and we connect with professionals. What we do here is we invite professionals who we believe we can learn something from in the field of cybersecurity to come share with us. And we've been lucky to really have wonderful people who come share their experience and also an important topic in cybersecurity. So welcome, and I'm sure that you will find something interesting today as we make progress in the event. First, I try to use a few minutes before our speaker comes up to share on some important topic in cybersecurity. And today I've chosen the topic on known exploited vulnerabilities, which again will be under the topic of vulnerability management. But in this case, it is managing the vulnerabilities from a risk perspective. And I am looking at the known exploited vulnerabilities, which is a framework. Well, it's not a framework, it's just a database of vulnerabilities according to a United States agency called CISA. And what they have done is to look at all of the vulnerabilities that currently exist in the world. And from what you can see on the screen, we currently have over 318,000 vulnerability from, I think, maybe late 90s, late 80s to 2025. And I think we are already getting close to 45,000 for the year 2025. And I won't be surprised if we actually surpass it. Now, when you have this amount of vulnerabilities, 318,000, it is unlikely that you can combat all of them at the same time. And this is why the known exploited vulnerabilities is like, we have a lot of these things, but which of them should we at least prioritize on? And so this catalog is developed and published online, which you can actually go online and search for known exploited vulnerabilities, KEV catalog, and take it to the website of CISA, and you can download that copy. And now, what does CISA advise everyone to do? So because there are lots, they look at vulnerabilities as published by vendors. And before a vulnerability can be added to the database, they consider three factors, which are that the vulnerability has a CVE, which is the Common Vulnerabilities and Exposure ID. Again, there is a body of knowledge on that, which you can also find on the internet on how organizations are assigned this number. So the numbers will come from the format CVE hyphen the year, which is 2025, then another 3 or 4 or 5 digits. Then the second thing is that there's reliable evidence that the vulnerability has been actively exploited in the wild. So what it means is that you may actually have a lot of vulnerabilities which have been identified. However, they are not yet exploited. Now, it doesn't mean that they won't be exploited, but it means that, you know, when fire is burning someone, you want to go to where the fire is most impacting you. And that's what the KEV has done. The third qualities is that there is a clear remediation plan. So one thing is that you must have a CVE ID. You must have evidence that the vulnerability is being exploited in the wild. And the third one is that there is a way to remediate it. And all this are published on the database. Now, I looked at the database in terms of the list of vulnerabilities that have been published, 318,000. I looked at how many of them are known to have been exploited in the wild, and it is 1,460. Now, what I haven't done, which would be a good exercise for you, is to find out whether they are critical, high, medium, or low. In some organizations, they focus on high and critical vulnerabilities. But this exercise I just mentioned, if you look at the database, the 1,460 vulnerabilities, you will be able to determine whether your prioritization approach or strategy actually helps you to also identify key non-exploited vulnerability. So you can look at your organization and say, which of these is applicable to my organization, and then you take steps in remediating them. And this is what CISA recommends. CISA says all organizations should review and monitor the KEV catalog. So it is part of the website that I visit periodically. So first is to review and to monitor the KEV catalog. The second thing is prioritize remediation of the listed vulnerabilities. And what we want to achieve is to reduce the likelihood of compromise by known threat actors. Also, they recommend that all stakeholders, so you are not the only one that is looking at it as a cybersecurity professional. You need to identify individuals or businesses or other departments that would help you to really remediate the vulnerability. So you include a requirement to immediately, in some organization in their vulnerability management policy, they would have documented in that policy based on this advice that they will prioritize the remediation of known exploited vulnerabilities. So you can actually put this as a policy statement to make sure they are remediated immediately. I think in PCI DSS, high vulnerabilities are expected to be mitigated in 30 days. Medium is in, I think high and critical is in 30 days, medium is in 60 days, and low is in 90 days. I think also with Cyber Essential Plus in the UK, high and critical vulnerabilities are supposed to be mitigated in 14 days. And the rest, you can prioritize it based on your business impact. Now, you can take a position for this KEV because they are being exploited in the wild and say, once they are published, you want to implement them as soon as possible. And as soon as possible is maybe 2 or 3 days. Once you test them, you deploy and make sure that that vulnerability doesn't remain in your environment. So what does CISA say? Strongly recommends that all stakeholders include a requirement to immediately address KEV catalog vulnerabilities as part of their vulnerability management plan. And in doing so, you will build collective resilience across the cybersecurity community. You can look at the list of vendors. So Microsoft tops the list. Microsoft, Apple, Cisco, Adobe, and Google. In fact, I have known Google Chrome to be one of those software that you have to keep up with because they can actually publish 3 vulnerabilities in 1 week. So you have to keep an eye on them. And it sometimes, as an organization, you don't have all of this software in your organization. But I am sure that you will have Microsoft. You are likely to have Cisco. You are likely to have Adobe. You are likely to have Google. And with those 4 on the list, you know that you need a prioritization strategy. And look at the products. Windows. So most organizations will have Windows. Multiple products is across different vendors. So there's no specific one. Then you have Chrome, which is Google Chrome. Then you have Internet Explorer. Then you have Adobe Flash Player and Kernel and Win32 and Office and Exchange. So you can look at this list and then go check. There's a tool I use in my organization, which is to check if we have any of these KEV on our enterprise and then take action. It's a weekly exercise that we must be able to identify whether any product or system or any IT solution is vulnerable to any of these known exploited vulnerability. Now, why do you do this every week? It is possible that the vulnerability exists, but your organization has not activated or introduced any system that is susceptible to that vulnerability. So you may not be vulnerable yesterday, but a system could be plugged into the network today, and then you become vulnerable. So that's why you need to run that process over and over again. All right, moving on from here, I thought I should talk more about the course we are currently running under the cybersecurity mentoring group. It's called the Identity and Access Management course. It's a 14, it's a 14, it's a 7-week course, and we run it for Thursdays and Saturdays, and we will be covering 14 classes. We had 70, we selected 43 candidates, and currently the class is made up of 43, divided into a group of 5. And we have successfully completed our 10th class, which is over 70%, and we actually are doing very well. In terms of attendance, we are having over 80% attendance rates, and quite a number of the attendees also have achieved more than 20 hours of learning in 10 classes. So today, it's just looking back at what we have done so far. Today will be our 23rd edition of our cybersecurity mentoring group chat with professionals. And you can find a whole lot of previous edition on the link below the screen, and you'll be able to, trust me, you'll be able to find things that will be of interest to you, because we have spoken to different professionals from different background, from different sector, from different experience. And last week we spoke to Dr. Francis, and today we'll be speaking with another professional, and so glad to have Mayowa again. Mayowa was one of our facilitators for the beginner cybersecurity mentoring, beginner cybersecurity masterclass, as a masterclass to introduce beginners to cybersecurity. And Mayowa was generous with his time, and he facilitated the access control module. Mayowa, thank you for joining us this evening, and so appreciate your time and your acceptance for this activity today.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me, and good evening, everyone, once again. Thanks for having me here once again.
All right.
And once again, let me just say, okay.
Yeah, I wanted to say that you can go ahead and share your screen, and
Share
then
my screen.
yeah,
Okay.
we then, once you finish presentation, we then come back and see whether there's time for us to have a chat about your journey in cybersecurity thus far.
Oh, okay. Oh, okay. That's good. Just give me a minute to share my screen.
All right.
I'll create a minute for that, because I have a funny one. Okay. Okay. Let me know once you can see my screen.
Not yet. I guess it's coming up.
Okay.
Yeah, it's flickered, and I think, yes, it's out now. So you can go ahead.
Okay. Yeah, thank you once again. And I want to say I appreciate the work you are doing for the cybersecurity community, because it's always a privilege to give back to the society, to the community. So once again, thank you for doing this. Okay. I'll be smart with our time, so I won't go too much into technical details. But at the end of the class, I will share some link that can actually help everyone who is ready to deep dive into OWASP or deep dive into application security. And I can promise you, if you can follow those links, focus on it for a month or so, you yourself, you will love what you have done by reading those materials. So I'll use that to save more time and just go straight to the point and be very concise tonight. So once again, thank you. Okay, so I am Mayowa Adewumi. I currently work for MasterCard as the regional cybersecurity in Eastern Europe, Middle East, and Africa. So under me, I have over 80 countries under Eastern Europe, Middle East, and Africa, protecting, advising customer, and just doing some work, some good work on cybersecurity to ensure the ecosystem is safe. So moving on, today we'll be looking at OWASP, Sorry, can you confirm you can still see my screen? I think I've been.
Yes, I can.
Here.
Very clear.
Okay. Okay. Just give me a minute. I think I stopped seeing that. Maybe there was an issue. Let me reshare. Sorry, can you still see it? I just want to be sure because I think there is some issue here.
Not right now.
Okay, okay. Oh, what's happening?
I think
Okay.
it's coming up. It's coming
Okay.
up. Not yet, but yeah, it's up now.
Okay, good. Okay, good. Okay, yeah. So moving on. Today we'll be speaking on OWASP, right? Like I said, I want to be very quick about this, but I'll share material at the end of the class. So OWASP, I know most of us know OWASP to be Open Web Application Security Project, and now we are seeing Open Worldwide Application Security Project. So maybe we might have one or two questions like, are we still talking about the same OWASP, right? Well, yes, we are talking about the same OWASP. So OWASP change, right? From being Open Web Application Security, Open Web Application Security Project to Open Worldwide Application Security Project. So as of today, the correct full meaning of the acronyms OWASP is Open Worldwide Application Security Project, not Open Web Application Security Project. And the reason for that we will see as we continue. So the changes happens in 2023, right? So just want to quickly point that out. So today we'll be looking at two major core subjects, right? Under it, we have subject or subcategories. So the first one we'll be looking at is understanding OWASP. What does OWASP stand for? When we hear OWASP, what are we talking about basically? Then after then, we then focus on the major topic of today, which is OWASP Top 10 2021 versus 2025. However, the 2025 is still a release candidate. So as we proceed, we talk more about that. And at the end, we have Q&A session and interactive session where I can speak about my career transition, how I started, and how I get to where I am currently. So now, understanding OWASP, right? Understanding OWASP, Open Worldwide Application Security Program. So what is the purpose of open, sorry, I think, okay, sorry. So what is the purpose of Open Worldwide Application Security? So they are like an organization or a body as well, just as we have different body like CISA, etc. However, they focus more on application security. And application security is so diverse. When we say application security, we are talking about mobile security. We are talking about web security. We are talking about anything that has to do with application, right? Anything we call application. So that is what they deal with. So why am I giving this background? I'm giving this background is because application or open web, and that is one of the reasons why they changed from Open Web Application Security. They changed their name, right, from Open Web Application Security to Open Worldwide Application Security. So people don't confuse it like, okay, all they deal with is web, right? So what is their function? So they are global non-profit organization focused on improving security of software. It is an open community dedicated to enabling organizations to conceive, develop, acquire, operate, and maintain applications that can be trusted. Right? It can only be trusted when it is secure. So that is their focus. And they are open community because we know we used to say OWASP 2021, OWASP 2020, 2025, maybe next 2 or 3 years, we have OWASP 2027 or whatsoever. How do they come about this? How do they give us the top 10 that we always look at, that we deal with, that we use in our environment to assess some software security? Usually, it's by vote, right? It's by what is happening currently, just like a threat intelligence. So they have a system for conducting that before they arrive at top 10, right? So they look at what are the most incidents that has happened when it comes to software, right? So people vote across the world that, okay, these are the software we are seeing. So it's just like a submission of what is happening, right? Like a threat intelligence. So those are what they compile, and they have a formula for calculating that to now arrive at, okay, this year, these are the top 10 security vulnerabilities around software, basically. So now we have variation of OWASP here. So by variation of OWASP, I'm just trying to give this background so we can understand OWASP more properly. So OWASP, I have classified this as theory, right? So we have OWASP top 10, which is the most popular one, most common one that everyone always, like almost everyone is aware of this. However, that is not the only OWASP project. So there is OWASP application security verification standard. We won't be dealing with that, but this is just for information purpose, right? And for us to understand OWASP as a body, right, rather than as a framework, basically. So this, it has variants, right? We have level 1, level 2, level 3 for application security verification standard. This level 1, 2, 3 is just like saying high, medium, and low, basically. So that's what it means, but we are not focusing on that. So I won't be talking more on that. So we have another one called OWASP SAMM. And I've been privileged to use all this framework, right, during my during my profession as a consultant, right? All this framework, and they are very thorough if well done. So software OASM means software assurance maturity model, right? So it's an open framework used to measure and improve maturity level from 0 to 3 of an organization, right? And entire software. So basically what this does, it's just like you are assessing ISO 27001. So they have that framework, very robust, right? That you use to assess your application security environment, including CI/CD, DevSec, right? It's very robust. So that is what this focus on. So these are the three major variants of OWASP, but the most common one is the OWASP top 10, and that is what we'll be focusing on today, basically. I just like to give those backgrounds so we can understand that OWASP is a body, right, and not a framework, basically, though they are very specific on software and application security. So let's now go to OWASP top 10. So now focusing on the OWASP top 10 now, right? So on that top 10 as well, we still have subcategories, right? So when we say OWASP top 10, it's very generic. It's just like a command now, just like saying, okay, someone is an animal, just like saying cybersecurity. Inside cybersecurity, we have different, what's it called, focus. When you talk about GRC, application security, red teaming, etc. So the same thing as OWASP top 10. So when you say OWASP top 10, you have to be very specific as a cybersecurity professional, not to cause confusion. Yeah, you can say OWASP top 10, but if I meet with you, right, and you tell me what's top 10, my head will be thinking like 4, 5, like my next question to you will be, what are you talking about? OWASP top 10 what? Right? So under OWASP top 10, we have OWASP top 10 web app, which is the most popular one. Just like what we are going to discuss today, when we say OWASP top 10 2021, like the difference between 2021 and the release candidate 2025, the latest one, right? So that is the most common one. That is the one everyone is aware of. However, that is not the only OWASP top 10. So that's the reason why I'm giving us this background so we can best understand what OWASP stands for and we can best utilize it, right? So we don't limit ourselves to a scope of OWASP, right? Where there are variants of it that can benefit us, either personally, either as an operational guys or in our profession, basically. So OWASP web app, we have that. We have OWASP top 10 remember, we are discussing top 10 now. Like these are just top 10 variants alone, like the variation of top 10, right? So we have web app, we have API security, we have application security verification standard. So this application security verification standard of OWASP top 10 used to be OWASP mobile top 10, right? That is focused on mobile, right? But it's changed, right? I think I can't remember very well. I think that was in 2026, 2016 rather. I think so. It's changed from being wipe top 10 mobile, like sorry, mobile top 10 to application security verification standard. So in case you encounter something like ASVS, right, you know it's the same thing as top 10 mobile app for OWASP. So now we have OWASP top 10 serverless, right, OWASP top 10 IoT, but these are not very common, right? But the most acceptable, right, globally acceptable that almost everyone use, right, because they find it very valuable. They are these three: OWASP web app, which will be our focus for today, and OWASP API security, as well as OWASP mobile app, which we call application security and verification standard now. So those are the variants we have currently for OWASP. Okay, sorry, just to put face to my eyes. Okay, so like I said, so these are the variants, right? I'm trying to, don't get it complicated, but just try to understand the purpose of this. After the section, I'll share the slide with us and some link that can help us, right? So now, since we now know the variants of OWASP at first, then after OWASP, we now know the variants of, just like a subcategory of OWASP top 10. So we have WIPE, we have API, we have mobile, etc. So there's another one we have, right, that is very important. So for every OWASP, there must be a testing guide, right? So now, for example, OWASP top 10 for mobile app, you will see O, OWASP STG, testing guide. Yeah, just like you see here. So this is mobile app security. This TG means testing guide. So this TG means testing guide, right? So for each, for OWASP now, for web, you see anywhere you see TG means testing guide. That is, aside from Apple being the top 10, aside from essay about the top 10, aside from what they are talking about the top 10, how do you test each of these top 10 vulnerabilities in OWASP? So that's what the testing guide means. So if you are doing your research over OWASP, it's one thing to understand OWASP. It's one thing to understand the testing guide. So let's note that. So for example, for this latest one, maybe after the call, you want to deep dive into it, I would advise you go and look the testing guide, right? So that way, you don't understand the top 10 alone, you understand how the test is being carried out. So those are very important in OWASP. So I'll move forward. So, yes, so these are the variants. So now you want to focus on the web, right? Which is the purpose for today. So looking at the web now, so the focus of today is OWASP top 10 2021 versus release candidate 2025, right? So I've given those background of OWASP. So I think that should help us enough, right? Maybe after the call to be able to do some research, and when we are reading about OWASP or when we are using OWASP, we are able to better use it, right? For our application security. So we are able to use it properly to fulfill its purpose, right? Which is to protect software and ensure we are building a secure software, right? And by software, remember when I started, it's not just web, anything software, web application, mobile application, and that's the reason for those variants of top 10. So those backgrounds are very, very important. Yes. So to today's business, which is the OWASP top 10 21 versus release candidate. I know you might want to be like, what are we talking about? What does release candidate mean? So release candidates, it's just like they telling you this is not the final version, right? So we can see on the social media, everything is like, OWASP top 10 is out for 2025, 2025. No, what is currently available now is not, it's just like a draft based on people's votes. And most likely nothing will change, right? But it's like they are developing it. So I think draft is the best word for it. So if they should ask us now that is final version for OWASP 2025 out, the answer is no. This is just a draft, but most likely nothing will change, right? Just that they will develop it and, like, for example, they will develop the testing guide, right, for it. And since just little things change, right? So most likely they will update 2021 and just add what changed, right? Maybe move up, move down, or new addition. They'll just, so those new addition will be the major focus for them to develop the testing guide because they are not available before, basically. So now, what I'm saying here is what the current version we have is the draft version, basically, not the final version. However, most likely from history, usually nothing change, right? Basically. So that is what release candidate mean or RC. But now, so if they should ask us which OWASP is still available now, so I think it's safe to say 2021 is still the one that has been approved. Right. So the 2025 currently, it's just a draft. So now let's look at the chart. So let's look at the charts now, basically. So OWASP 2021, right, which is the yeah, we can say, yeah, which is the previous version. Let me just use that word, previous version for now. So the top 10 means, and I like to point something out here. When we say top 10, right, OWASP is not telling us that this is all the vulnerabilities that are available on mobile app or on web application or on serverless application, right? Or on software, basically. No, they are not telling us that. They are just telling us that based on worldwide submission, right, of vulnerabilities, of software vulnerabilities, of software incidents, right, and of risk that people are seeing around software globally, right? And based on some calculation, these are the top 10 that we should take note of, right? These are the top 10 that we should look out for, right? They are very important. What I'm saying here is that this is not all when it comes to software or application security vulnerabilities, right? So that is very correct. So for example, if you are carrying out application security assessments in your environment, right? You can, yeah, during my profession as a consultant, because yeah, work for a lot of client, customer banks, etc. So I've done assessment, security assurance around application security, etc. Right, and I've seen a lot of vulnerabilities, right, that are not on OWASP as at then, right. That does not debunk that it's still a vulnerability, right. So I'm pointing out here that this is not all that is, right, when it comes to application security. But OWASP is telling us that these are the top 10, basically. So that is very important, right, as a professional. So let's quickly look at this. We have, okay, so we have broken access control. This has been, this has been one of the major, uh, should I say, long life. Like when you talk about vulnerability that has long life, right? This broken access control, right, has been there for a while, right? And funny enough, if we look at 2025, this guy still remains, right? So that is to tell you, like, we can call this Methuselah in application security. So we talk about cryptographic failure, that's 2021. We talk about injection. This injection as well, right? It's very important, right? From my years of experience around application security assurance, around application security penetration testing, around secure code review, I can tell you it's one of the major. And if care is not taken, though we can see it's in 5 now, looking at this 2025 RC, it's number 5. But this, I can assure you, based on my experience, right, as an application security assurance during my years, I can assure you that this is not going years to come, right? It could be going up and down, but it's not leaving OWASP soon, right? Because let's think about it. If we have done application security assessment, if there's no way to inject anything to an application, I think the application is 50% secure. If you don't have any pathway to inject any maybe script through URL, maybe through input bus, or maybe through if you are not able to inject anything as a pen tester, as a security maybe red teaming, I think that security application is secure, maybe 50%, right? Already. Others are just some complex stuff because during my years, the first thing I look out for is point of injection. What can I inject, right? In fact, if you want to cause DDoS, most time as a pen tester or for a ethical hacker, you look for point of injection. So, and that's why I'm saying this is not living here soon, right? Or in next year to come. So it's very important as well. Insecure design, security misconfiguration, right? This, we'll talk about it. Vulnerabilities and outdated components, yeah, this as well. Yeah. Identification and authentication failure. We'll talk about most of this in details, right? So let's now quickly look at what has changed, right, from 2021 and 2025. So what has really changed? So what has changed here? We have theory. So now let's see. So we have new, right? New one. From here, this does not change. And here, security misconfiguration moved up, right, from A2. But here we have two new one, right? And those new ones are supply chain failure, which I'll talk more about, right? And then the second one is mishandling and exceptional condition, basically. So these are the two new additions. All others, they are just like moving from number one to, it's just a change of position. So because of time, I'll just run us quickly. I'll talk more on the changes and I'll run us quickly on the top 10, like what they mean, right? We can't go deep dive. I'll have loved to maybe even show us some way to test application against this, right? So now looking at the major changes. So we have one, broken access control. It's changed to number one, right? It's changed to number one. And before, sorry, it remains in number one, sorry, unchanged. It remains in number one. So security misconfiguration moved from number 5 to number 2. And this, I agree with it. So now, supply chain failure, that's new. The mishandling of exception condition, that's new. So we have two new and we have two. One unchanged and one that moved to number 5. Sorry, one that moved from number 5 to number 2. So let's talk about security misconfiguration. I would like to talk about those. I would like to talk about the new, right? Two new, then security misconfiguration. So the first one that is new, right? Which never existed. So new means this never existed before, right? They've not seen it before. We talk about supply chain failure. So now we cannot agree with me. So when we talk about supply chain, what does supply chains mean, right? I know there's what we call APIs and sockets in application development, right? So this means I believe we've heard about front end, back end engineer, etc. So if software engineer is designing the user interface and the back end is designing the mathematical computation between in the application, how do they communicate, right? Most time they communicate using API, right? So they connect the front end to the back end using APIs at times. And at times again, uh, many banks or many organizations, they use third-party tools, right? For example, there's a lot of, okay, even some AI tools now, for you to bring them into your environment, you use API to connect them, right? Like to connect them to be able to use them, right? So which means, and now we are in a world of AI, many tools, like the interconnection keeps growing, right? And that was why this I was expecting it even before now, right? I was expecting it basically. So this is talking about, and another important thing here is libraries, right? So what is libraries? So for application now, right? Anytime you go to web application or you visit any website, so most time they use external libraries, right? And I'll just give a simple explanation. For example, instead of you writing code all over again, a code that serves one function, right? That the function is there and it's almost impossible for you not to use that function. So instead of writing it in every pages, so usually they used to host it somewhere, right? So that you just connect to it anytime you need it. So once you connect to it, it's bringing it from an external application or external source into your own application, right? So anytime you need it, you just call for it, basically. So that are external libraries, right? So all these things, they are things that application developers hardly can avoid, right? So because of that, and the era of AI, etc., everyone is building this, everyone is building this. Okay, UBA Bank want to work with Access Bank want to work with Mastercard want to work with clients. All these, they are integration, they are third parties. Anything you are not developing in your environment is a vendor risk. There is a vendor risk and third party. So those parties connecting to your application, it's very important. So it's very important to take note of that. So that is that. And mishandling of exception and condition. So in application security, for example, a good example of this. Sorry, can you confirm if you can still hear me?
Yes, I can. I can.
Okay, good. So mishandling of exception, the best way to explain this, whenever you go to a website, okay, when you want to log into an application, usually you see something like, if you press wrong password.
Hi, Mayowa. Hi, Mayowa. Oh. I think you can't hear me. Hi, Mayowa. Hi, Mayowa. I think we lost you for like 10 seconds. We lost you for like 10 seconds.
Or is it better now?
Yes, I can hear you now.
Okay, good. Okay, good. So I'll be okay. So now what I was saying is for mishandling of exception, just trying to quickly explain that. So mishandling of exception, anytime you input something that is not correct, right? Something is catching it, telling you it's not correct, right? But from an attacker or a pen tester perspective, if you don't catch those errors properly, an ethical hacker or a pen tester or an application security guy can, from that exception, if you are not handling it with, enter into database, right, and cause a lot of problems, basically. So the exception needs to be handled properly. For example, if you are putting jangles, maybe some characters, or you want to ingest some script into an application, if the error is not catching it, that no, this does not look like what I am looking for, then a threat actor can penetrate from there. So this is very key as well. So it's important. I think from the vote of this year, they've seen that there's a lot of incident around this, and that's why it's coming new as well. So these are the major changes, right? In what's it called? In between what's it called? Yeah, between 2021 and 2025. And because of our time, I think I'll just stop here, right? And like I said, it's a lot. We can't cover it in one hour, the testing, etc. So I'll just stop here and allow us to interact within the 10 seconds while I share link, right, for anyone that want to deep dive into OWASP, right, or want to deep dive into application security. I'll share those links with us, right? So thank you very much, right? And feel free to reach out to me for any question on application security or whatsoever. Yeah. So thank you.
Thank
I'll
you.
leave the table
Thank you.
for
Thank you so much,
discussion.
Maiwa. I think I really love the other bit of OWASP that you brought into the perspective, especially the maturity model, and very good. Thank you for going even um, beyond expectation and try to help us understand in a very comprehensive manner the OWASP body of knowledge. Now, like I said, I think our time, yeah, we still have a little time, maybe 10 minutes. It's just to, like I told you, our community like to, yeah, yeah, I think you have brought out so our community like to get some inspiration from the person, our guest. And so if you don't mind, as much as you are comfortable with. So share with us your journey into cybersecurity. And from past engagements, what we have done is to ask people, how did they get started? Why exactly is cybersecurity is a field that they have now chosen? And was there something that led to that decision? And how have they been able to make that commitment and also to grow to where they are today? So that's just what we would like to learn from you.
Okay, thank you so much. When I started, I said my journey is a very funny one, right? And I'll be very real, right? So, when I was in college, cybersecurity, I doubt if I've ever heard of something cybersecurity. I'll be sincere here. So when I was in, because as at then, I love developing, I love writing codes, I love developing stuff like I'm those kind of guy that like I want to do stuff, right? So you can see here, I started as an embedded system engineer. An embedded system engineer basically think of your hardware or think of all this automated system in the banks, all this car, whenever you are going, they sight you, it opens, or all those sensors. So basically that is what I love doing. And I started it as early as possible during my college year. So I write code. I develop circuits, right? Like real circuits. I'll write microcontroller code using C++, etc. So I do a lot of projects. Yeah. I still do it, right? But as a passion, not my core now, right? So that was who I used to be. Then, I was like, okay, I'll do this after school. I'll do this after school. Like we say Nigeria happens. I realize this is not bringing money as it should, right? So like it's not a well, like the market is not very there like in Nigeria, kind of. So I still do some projects. So my final year, I made a decision, right? And the decision was I don't want to go back home. Basically, that was the decision that changed everything. Like because I came from Oyo State and studying in Lagos, right? So I was like, I don't want to go back home. So I started thinking, what can I do? So I started looking for opportunities. So there was an opportunity there called Ready Set Work, right? Organized by Lagos State government. So I came into it and I was I was picked, right? After then, there was an interview the last week. So they brought a lot of organization. Then I was called as a top 10 student, right? For that among 12,000 students. So I was like, I was not expecting it. So in my head, we were told to prepare for interview. So I was preparing for interview like Cisco, etc. That was what I was preparing for. Then I was selected for PwC because PwC and some total those top 10 organizations were there to interview people. So I was selected as the top 10 student. I was selected to interview with them, right? I never know what PwC was. I was that kind of person. I don't know what they do. But I was to interview with them because I was top student. So I interviewed with them and I was selected. So when I got into PwC, I realized how people were doing, like, oh, this wow, so this is a good environment. Like I was very motivated, like, no. That was thinking I would become a lecturer or embedded system engineer, my orientation started changing that. No, see young people, see like those things entice me. Then I was like, okay, yeah, we die here. So they employed me for IT support engineer. Then the money, I was like, okay, this is not too blah blah. So I did it for a year. Then I knew I needed something better than IT support engineer. I needed. So I started the conversation with my managers, right? And from there, they were like, okay, talk to this person, talk to this person. So during my NYSC, because I was given the offer even before I finished my college. So during my NYSC, I was put into cybersecurity unit. And that was how I navigated into cybersecurity, right? So, but what is the key thing here is that no wisdom, no knowledge is actually wasted. I can tell you for sure, one of the things that helped my career growth to skyrocket, like because my career, I think all thanks to God, I think I have a very fast career growth, right? Looking at my work experience, years of experience and where I am today. But one of the things that helped it was all this knowledge that I have because I understand code, right? I write code, right? And that was why any client I did, yes, those clients I did application security for them on anything application security. Even when I do application security, what's it called, training, it's always fantastic, right? That was not because I am a cybersecurity professional, but because I was able to relate cybersecurity with the knowledge I have before, both as someone web developer here and both as IT support engineer. So, and one thing I realized about cybersecurity is that almost no field is wasted if you can properly relate cybersecurity into it, right? So I think that is one of the greatest background that helped my cybersecurity journey. And yes, another thing is perseverance, consistency, right? Cybersecurity is not easy, right? It's very wide, right? If you should look at all this, I started with GLC audit, etc. But a lot of things happen, especially during JAPA. So during JAPA, I was given that mantle to lead technical team of PwC then in cybersecurity. That was when I started doing GLC, VAPT, application security. But this transition, this I did for like 2-3 years, GLC or the data protection. But moving from here, it was like a mantle because almost everyone left the firm, right? But due to my technical background knowledge and a lot of learning, reading, YouTube, etc., I was able to take the mantle, right? And from there, that was how I started. And gradually, it progressed like that. And I think 2-3 years, then I got an offer to here. So because of time, I was rushing, right? But the summary of this is, irrespective of where you are, right? If you can do a proper mapping, in case you want to transition into cybersecurity or whatsoever. And one thing about cybersecurity is it's even not stable. If you can start with this, just like this, but the good thing is anywhere you are, stay there, learn, know it, right? Then move from there to another one. So you can move from GLC after you have known it very well to application security, know it very well, do it, then gradually, then there, because management level does not usually require one skill, right? It's a combined level, but it's always good to do it well, know it well before you move to uh what's it called, before you pivot to another side of cyber security. So I think uh because of time, I think
Thank
that's
you.
it. You can read
Thank
my profile on LinkedIn to get So thank you so much
Thank
for
you.
this.
Thank you. Maybe a question to ask is, so we have in cybersecurity mentoring group, we have collections of people who are not in cyber right now, but they love to come to cyber. Whether it's the money, I don't know, but whatever is calling them,
Yeah.
I wanted to share your thoughts around how you think what
Mhm.
they are doing right now. So they are not in cyber, but they want to be in cyber. And
Okay.
what do you think they should focus their efforts in doing right now and
Mhm.
spend more time in doing that
Mhm.
you think may make that transition possible or easier for them?
Okay, so I'll give two major things, right? First, money might be the motivation, but money will not get you there. Because when I started, I was not looking at money. That's just a fact, right? Skill, you learn very well before you earn. So you need to learn, right? So, but one of the challenges I've seen people face, especially starters in cybersecurity is wide, right? And they are confused of where to start. So there is something I used to do for people I mentor, right? I'll give them a task, and the task is first use a week to understand cybersecurity, generic cybersecurity. Like after that, then look for cybersecurity mapping. Like what are the domains in cybersecurity? Read about it. This is still general. After reading about it, see where your interest is, right? Then pick one domain. If you want to go for GLC, go for GLC as a starter, right? Forget others. That does not mean you won't do others, but pick one domain. If you are picking GLC, pick it. If you are picking blue teaming, which is like stock analyst, pick it. If you are picking red teaming, which is like ethical hacker, etc., pick it. Right? If you are picking application security, pick it. So pick one. Start with one first. Then what I used to do after that is I'll tell them after you've read about all the domain and you've picked the domain you want to specify with or start with, go online, right? Look for job, right? Get 20 companies that are recruiting for that domain, maybe GLC analyst. Look at their job description. Look at their required knowledge or required skills, right? Prepare an Excel table. List required skills and job description for those 20. Then do what we call mapping, just like in mathematics, we call it union, right? That is, delete duplicate from those 20 companies. Now look at what you are left with in terms of required skill for that domain, right? And in terms of job description. Then now use it to create a syllabus. Maybe 6 months, 3 months, use it to create a syllabus. So after you've created that syllabus, those are the mapping I used to advise. After creating that syllabus, now start looking for course that provide you with the skill listed in the required skill and job description. So that will be your timetable. That's what I do for my guys. After 6 months, depending on how fast or the time you have, deep dive into it and go back and start looking for a job. If you have acquired those knowledge, right, you will realize your transition will be skill. And another thing is, as you are learning with those timetable, write an article, maybe using Medium, LinkedIn, write an article that if you give those article to a Prem 1 student, right, he or she will be able to follow it and understand that topic, right? So that will now be your own CV because you don't have work experience yet. But those articles, those things you've done during your study will now be like your own skill on your CV. So I think that's the roadmap I used to encourage people I mentor to. So, and if you can do that, and again, consistency, right, is very key. Don't do today and go off today. No, consistency is very key. Be consistent. If it is 1 hour during your study, ensure those 1 hours are consistent. Don't do 1 hour or 10 hours in a day, and before you do another study, 20 hours, that next week or next month. No, be consistent. So I think that's a summary of all advice
Thank you.
anyone that wants to transition. Yeah.
I think I was smiling as you were speaking because I remember that we are currently, as I said earlier, we're currently running an identity and access management course, and what you said right now in terms of looking for jobs in that area is exactly what I shared with the team. I said that they should go and look for job vacancies in IAM. 5. I told them 5. I was easy on them. I said 5, but thank you for even expanding it that they should look for more, because really it helps. It gives you a targeted kind of learning instead of reading wide. If you read according to what employers are looking for, you are more focused on getting specific knowledge. I think we've gotten enough to think on today, and I believe that everyone on the call also have gotten something that they can go away with, apart from understanding that where they are currently matters. They've also gotten a strategy possibly on how to navigate from where they are today to where they want to be in cyber. Thank you so much, Mayowa, for your time this evening. And let me share my screen. I think we are done, but let me just share my screen because we have some, I think it's just few announcement. Yeah. Okay. So we thank you. We are done with this. Yeah. Today, which is our 23rd edition, is 15th of November completed. In 2 weeks' time, we will be having the last one for the month of November. The person I'm bringing is a very interesting one, and I'll be sharing. I wouldn't let it out of the bag. But this person, I've known him since my days in Globalcom. I spent about, I think about it should be about 20 years now. Yeah, 20 years now, and he currently works with one of the big tech company in the world. So I will unveil him. In fact, after this meeting, I will be chatting with him to start the conversation around the topic and producing the flyer for the next edition. So thank you very much for joining. I keep this here every time to remind everyone that you may, as Mayowa said, go read it, identify the domain that you have interest in, and create a mapping of what you need to learn. And I always believe that action brings clarity. Sometimes people think that, you need to know where you are going before you start. In cybersecurity, you need to start. When you start, then you will know where you're going. So if for instance, you want to follow CISSP, there are 8 domains. There's a UK framework that lists about 16 domains. Whichever one that you want to follow, whether it is even ISO 27001, you want to follow the way they have arranged it, anyone, just start. By the time you start, you will understand the ones that you know your power cannot carry. So you let that one be. But you will see the ones that you are interested in, and then clarity will come. The other one here is that, don't you think it is time you start what you've always wanted? It's a song, Lighthouse Family. So you've always wanted to do this thing. So don't you think that it's time for you to get started and just get into the ring and start throwing your punches? There are enough materials out there for you to learn. And with cybersecurity mentoring group, there are communities of learners, and also we have mentors that are willing to support you. So please get started, because you have planned enough. Get into the ring and get started. Thank you for joining us this evening, and I'm wishing you the rest of the evening. Have a good time, and we'll catch up again. If you are in our community, we'll catch up in our IAM course. If not, we'll see again during the next edition. Bye for now.